Hi, this is National Master Dan Heisman. We're here with another video to help you improve your chess game. As always, if you haven't told your friends about my channel, Dan Heisman Chess, I have over 370 videos on about every aspect of chess improvement. So whether you want to learn on how to learn openings or how to strategize or how to evaluate or how to analyze and how to read, which chess books to read, all kinds of stuff like that. Everything's on my channel, Dan Heisman Chess. Okay, so today I want to talk about one of my favorite principles, which is one that I made up many years ago. It's called always play with confidence, aggression, and respect for your opponent's moves and ideas. By the way, this is going to be one of those more podcasty type videos. I have a few of those. So if you're looking for one with a lot of board action, I have a million of those. But I have a small percentage, maybe, 10, 15% of my videos, which are more like podcasts. So this is one of those. All right, let's take each one of those things in order. The three things I just said were play with confidence, aggression, and respect for your opponent's moves and ideas. So confidence. Why do you play with confidence? Some people are very unconfident when they play higher rated players, but that's a big mistake. And one of the things that they've done is they've surveyed people who have trouble when they're playing higher rated players. And they ask them a question something like, suppose you play a 100-game match with someone who's rated 100 points above you. And assuming nobody gets any better or worse during the match and you're exactly 100 points difference, how many points out of 100 would you score, keeping in mind that you get 1 point for a win and a half point for a draw? Well, people who are afraid of people who are above them usually answer much too low. They say something like they will score 15% or 15 points out of 100. But actually the right number, if you're playing someone 100 points above you and everybody plays exactly according to their playing strength, would be you would get 36 points out of 100 and your opponent would get around 64. That's the average. No match is going to always be exactly 64 to 36, but if you played a whole bunch of 100-game matches, the average one would be 64 to 36. So people who say a lot less than 36%, people who say something like 15%, they're playing with too much fear of their opponent. And of course, that results in a self-fulfilling prophecy where they end up playing much too passively or whatever it is that they do to be afraid of their opponent. For instance, suppose you're rated 900 and you're playing someone 1,000. Well, people who are 1,000 aren't very good and they make lots and lots of mistakes, maybe slightly less than you do. But to think when they make a move that it's not a mistake, that would be a terrible mistake in itself, because a lot of the moves that 1,000 is going to make is a mistake. So I've had people who are lower rated when they were playing someone slightly higher than them that was really not much better than them, and the opponent would make a terrible mistake. A lot of times they wouldn't take advantage of it, and I would say, well, why don't you go and trap the bishop over there with your pawn? And they would say, well, he's higher rated than me, so I thought it was a trap, so I didn't do it. And of course, it wasn't a trap. And 9 times out of 10, when they saw that the opponent had done something wrong, the opponent really had done something wrong, but they assumed because the opponent was higher rated that it must have been a trap. Well, surely if you're playing a 3600 rated engine like Stockfish 16 or something, and they let you do something that looks too good to be true, you can pretty much bet that it's too good to be true. But if you're in 900 and you're playing 1,000, and you think your opponent made a terrible blunder, but you're afraid to take advantage of it because they're higher rated than you, you're right. Some of the time it might actually be a trap that they understand that you don't, but more often than not, it's probably they just blundered and you should take advantage of it. So you want to play with confidence. If you don't play with confidence, then you're not going to get the right amount of, bang for your buck when you're playing the games. I always played my games with confidence. Did I think I was going to win every game? Of course not. And I tell the story of the first time I played a master where, my friend said I was going to get killed by the master, and my friend Lester Shelton. And I said to Lester, sure, Les, he's probably going to win the game, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to make the best move I can on every move. And if I lose the game, I'm going to look myself in the mirror at the end of the game. And if I play the best I could, that's all I can do. And I played the game, again, first time I played a master, and in those days the ratings were much, much lower than they are now. So someone rated 2,200 in those days he was the only active 2,200 in the whole Philadelphia area. So I played him and I won the game. Was I afraid of him during the game? No. I respected what he was doing, but if you asked me to bet on the winner of the game, I probably would have bet on him, but that didn't affect my play. I just tried to play the best moves I could on every move, and I won the game. And that I have a video on my channel here. I think that the name of the video is The First Time I Played a Master, and you can see that game. Okay, so you want to play with confidence. You also want to play with aggression. Suppose you don't play with aggression. Suppose you put your head in the sand and say, don't hurt me, I won't come after you, just don't do anything bad to me. Or suppose you hear that pawn moves create weaknesses, so you're not going to push many pawns and get much space. You're just going to kind of move a bunch of knights around and not move too many pawns. Does that work in chess? Can you draw with much higher rated players by kind of doing nothing? And the answer is no. Chess isn't that kind of game. Chess is the kind of game where if you don't go after your opponent, then you're probably going to lose the game. When I was a beginner, someone gave me great advice. They said, Dan, if you're playing a higher rated player and you think a draw might be a good result, the best way to get it is to play for a win. And if you don't win, then you might get your draw. But if you start the game early and you say, I'm going to play for a draw, and you're just going to try to trade off all the pieces, that almost never works, and you're probably just going to lose the game. And that was really, really good advice that I got, and I always remembered that. So I'm passing it along to the viewer of the YouTube channel. If if you're playing someone, you want to play with aggression. You want to go after them. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But playing passively is no good. I like to tell the story that when I was the Philadelphia Invitational champion back many years ago, one of my friends said, I go to a bar every week and we play chess with our friends, and one guy beats all of us. He said, would you play my friend without us telling him who you are, and just to give him a hard time? And I said, sure. So we went over his apartment and our mutual friend said, hey, you two guys like to play chess, why don't you play a game? So we played a game, and the guy from the bar who was playing me played very aggressively, but of course I was the champion of Philadelphia and I played solidly, and eventually he made a mistake and I won. So he said, let's play again. So we played again. And of course the same thing happened. I played nice and solid. He went after me tooth and nail, but I managed to not make any big mistakes and I won the game again. He said, no one's ever beat me 2 games in a row. Let's play a third game. So we played a third game. And the same thing, of course, happened again. I won for the third time. And the guy said, what's going on here? And our mutual friend, the owner of the apartment, said, oh, I forgot to mention our friend Dan here is the champion of Philadelphia. He's a U.S. Chess Federation rated expert. In those days, that was very, very good. Today, being expert's not as high as it was then. But anyway, and the guy said, oh, no wonder, I thought something was going on. You guys set me up. He said, let's play again. So we played again. But this time, the fourth game, the player I was playing, instead of going at me aggressively, tried to play very, very super solid / passive. And it just doesn't work. And I really killed him in that game. So he has to play again. And again, he tried to, not make any mistakes, not do anything very aggressively, just tried to hold on. And again, I kind of just rolled over him and won again. And we played a 6th game. And again, he knew who I was. He played very passively. And again, I beat him really, really badly. So I won all 6 games, but the first 3 games were good games. And he was trying to win, and it gave him a chance, and I had to be careful and play really well. When he stopped playing aggressively against me, he just fell all apart, and it was very easy to beat him in those games. So you want to play with aggression. The third thing is you want to play with respect for your opponent's moves and ideas. One of the things I notice when people are playing, especially if they know their opponent's rating, which is sometimes a mistake, a lot of times you can't help it, but knowing the opponent's rating sometimes changes how you play. When they play lower rated players, they play with very little respect for their opponent's moves. They think, oh, my opponent is just going to make a mistake, I don't have to do anything. Or they'll make silly threats with the idea that the opponent won't see it and they'll get away with it. And they'll play really poorly against lower rated players. And sure, they might still win if they're 300, 400, 500 points higher rated, but if you're 300 points higher rated than someone, the rating chart shows that you should win, if I can remember right, 64, 76, 84. You should win 84% of the games. But if you don't have respect for your opponent's moves and ideas, instead of winning 84%, you may only win 75%. Well, you might not notice that because you're still winning 3 out of 4 instead of 5 out of 6. But if you're taking your opponent lightly, you're not going to do quite as well. And of course, when you're playing stronger players, you want to have respect for their moves, but you don't want to have fear for their moves. If you have fear and you think that they're just going to beat you, it's sort of like playing with lack of confidence and lack of aggression, then you're probably going to lose. So when you're playing higher rated players, you want to still play aggressively. Of course, most people don't have problems having respect for their opponent's moves when they're playing higher rated players, but they do sometimes have lack of respect for their opponent's moves when they're playing lower rated players, and it really negatively affects their play. I could give you some stories about how people did better when they didn't know their opponent's ratings. In fact, I wrote an article many years ago for the US Chess Federation saying they'd be better off hiding the rating system and just giving people their classes and making sure people could never drop to a lower class unless they petition the USCF, so that you could only go higher. If you're a C player, if you do well enough in tournaments, they'll make you a B player and so on. And they basically should just hide the rating system and play with the classes, so we could still have, class tournaments. We could still have, open tournaments, tournaments for B and under, tournaments for D and under, things like that. But don't have the ratings, and don't have the ratings, never have it so that someone could go down in class unless they feel like they're older and weaker and they want to go down in class. And if they did that, people would play, because I know so many people who gave up playing chess because of rating issues. Well, when you're playing if you're playing people who don't know the rating, you won't do silly things like offer them draws when you're winning. I see so many people when they're playing higher rated players, they offer draws when they're winning. And this is a really, really bad thing, not only from a result standpoint, but also from a rating standpoint. Let's say you're playing someone 100 points higher than you, and you're winning, but you're afraid of them, so you offer them a draw, and of course they jump at it and accept. Well, if you get a draw with someone 100 points higher than you, if your rating's around 1,400, you'll get about 4 points. But if you beat them, you get about 20 points. And with these days, with the lower threshold for bonus points, if you win games and you get the bonus points, you'll not only get 20, you might get more than 20, especially if you've won a couple other games in the tournament. So you could end up where let's say you beat 3 higher rated players versus drawing with 3 higher rated players. If you beat 3 higher rated players with the bonus points, you might get 150 rating points. And if you draw with 3 players, the same 3 players, if they're 100 points higher, let's say, you could get only, maybe 15 rating points. 3 times 4 is 12, but let's say that they average a little more than 100 points above you. So if you get into that big bonus territory and you beat a couple people above you, you can gain a lot of rating points. But if you just draw with them, you're probably not going to get into bonus territory. I mean, if you're playing people 500 or 600 points above you and you draw a bunch of games, sure, you can do that. Not a problem. But that's very unusual that you're going to play a bunch of people rated 500, 600 points above you and get a bunch of draws. So wins are what really gets you the ratings. It's pretty hard to raise your rating quickly just by drawing with people a little bit higher than you. So if you are afraid of them or you have too much respect for what they're doing and you're winning and you just give it away, then that's a problem. One of my son's friends was showing me some games. He was someone I gave lessons to when he was young, and his rating was up to about 1,700, and he would give 1,800s draws when he would get into endgames up a pawn, and he said, I'm not very good at endgames, so therefore when I get into an endgame up a pawn, I just offer a draw. And I said, well, how are you going to get good at endgames if you don't play those endgames out and learn how to win them? And meanwhile, you're giving away all those rating points because getting a draw against someone 100 points higher than you isn't any big deal, and you're winning the game, and all you have to do is play it out, and if you don't make any big mistakes, there's a good chance you can win, and even if you do make some mistakes, you're probably only going to draw. So your opponent is the one playing for the draw, so giving them a draw when you're ahead like that is just very, very counterproductive. Okay, so again, we've been talking about the principle, always play with confidence, aggression, and respect for your opponent's ideas. Hopefully today's video helped you. And again, please tell your chess friends about the channel Dan Heisman Chess. If you'd like to like the video, that'd be great. If you want to subscribe to the channel, very good. I'm not making quite as many videos as I did before because I've covered almost every aspect of chess improvement, and there's still plenty of fun videos I can make. I can play out loud against the engine. I can do kind of podcasts like this. I can show you how to play various openings and endgames and stuff. But most of the real thought process and thought process errors and stuff like that, I've done videos already. So they're all there on the channel for you to watch and enjoy and get better with. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Bye.